Hello, my lovelies. This is Ayiri with Dreaming of Fae Tarot. I am going to let you know this is like the fourth time I've tried doing this video. So, fourth time's the charm. Okay. We have the history of tarot. To begin with, there's a lot of lore about where did tarot come from, who created the tarot decks, where did the first playing card set come from, because they all came from playing cards and originally started off as playing cards. Some say that the tarot cards came from a set that had four suits of different cards, suits meaning like spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. And some say that they came from Asia. Some people say they came from the Middle East. But we all know that eventually they came to Italy. And in Italy, in the 1400s, somewhere between 1430 and 1450, the first deck that had 78 cards in it existed. It was for a game called Tarocchini, which then got changed into the the card game of Tarot, which is the French version of Tarocchini. And the only difference is they took what you see here as a 56 card deck. They added 22 cards ahead of that. And the 22 cards ended up being what we now see as the major arcana. If you do not know, the tarot deck is split into two different sections. You have your major arcana and your minor arcana. The minor arcana are going to be your coins deck, or coin suit, or pentacles, also called earth, depending on the deck. Your air suit, which is usually swords or air. Your fire suit, which is usually fire, wands, or batons. And your water suit, which is usually water, chalices, or cups. In old days of past, hoodoo practitioners, because they couldn't get specific types of cards and had to hide their practices in plain sight, would read using just playing cards. The Romani are also known to have used regular playing cards. And that's how Tarocchini went from being just a game that people would play like bridge in the same fashion to being a fortune-telling divinatory system. The first people who were open about using the cards in this fashion were the French. So as the Tarocchini deck moved forward from Italy through the travelers and things of that sort, the Tarot de Marseille, which is the closest version to the original Visconti Italian Tarocchini deck became available in France. The Tarot de Marseille is named the Tarot de Marseille because around 1690, a man named Joseph, who lived in Marseille, he went and designed this deck, hand painted each one of the pictures, and he had it published, and it was from Marseille. So, Tarot de Marseille. De means of. So, Tarot of Marseille is the name of the deck. It is very commonly used in France still to this day because it's like a tarot national treasure, basically. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It has very European scenery in this deck. It was originally deemed the Tarot de Marseille in the late 1800s, almost 200 years after its actual making. It does also have some Catholic imagery. But overall, again, it still has that playing card look to it. The version I'm using is the CBD Tarot, or de Marseille, CBD Tarot de Marseille. And it is a reproduction of the original Tarot de Marseille, which is going to be the closest to what the original Italian version would look like also. An interesting thing to point out about the Tarot de Marseille is it is considered to be a pip deck. Pip decks are decks where they have non-scenic minor arcana cards. So, like I said, very similar to the original playing card deck. The original playing card deck is a pip deck. The Tarot de Marseille has its own style to it, so all of the pip decks that are like this, where they kind of just blend together. Let's see, like these are all pip cards, but they're Tarot de Marseille pip cards. I also have cards, other cards that are pip cards that are not Tarot de Marseille cards. So, for instance, the Antique Anatomy deck is also a pip deck. So this is the eight of rods. This is the Eight of Swords. So as you can see, the style is different, but it's still only 8 of said object. And they read different than some of the other types of decks. Now, on to the next deck that we have in our history of tarot. The next deck to be made and widely produced is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck was designed and produced in the year 1909. The producing company was the Rider Company, and that's where the name Rider in the name comes from. It was designed or influenced by A.E. Waite, which is Arthur Waite, and it was illustrated by Pamela Coleman Smith. So that's where you get the Smith part of the tarot name. So with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we had an author who decided how it was going to be set up, and a illustrator who decided how to go and make that make sense by drawing it. This is the first type of scenic deck or non-pip deck to exist in our history of tarot. Because as you saw before, we had our playing cards, we had our tarocchini from Italy, and we had our Tarot de Marseille, all of which are pip decks. This one was designed to make it easier for those being read and those who are doing the reading to get these spiritual messages from the reader to the querent or the person being read. So the minor arcana cards, as you can see here and here, are both, and here, are all going to have specific scenes with people doing things and interacting with the different elements. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck was designed by, again, A.E. Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith, who were both part of the order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which mixed many different philosophies from uh, different religions and spiritual practices, including Christianity, Catholicism, uh, Hebrew information, the Kabbalah, which is uh, the mystical system of the Hebrew Jewish religion. In here they even mixed in a little bit of Kemetic or um, Kemetic or ancient Egyptian mythos also. So it, this is the easiest deck. Most people learn off of this type of deck, even to modern day, because it does have its scenic imagery. And most decks that you can find, especially in the United States and Canada, are going to be based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith. It is a modern deck from the modern era, but it is the one that most people are able to find and work with. So, our last modern deck, and definitely not least, and one of the most controversial, is the Thoth deck. Thoth is the Greek name for a Kemetic god, Kemetic being ancient Egyptian. Thoth is the Kemetic god Jehuti, or Jehuti's name, basically. Some people call it the Thoth uh, deck, also because back during those times, there was no th sound, especially in ancient Egypt. So Thot, wait, Thoth, Thoth would have just been pronounced Tot, Tot, because the H's would just be whispers. But either way, this deck was designed by Alister Crowley and was drawn and illustrated or painted by Lady Frida Harris. They were also at one point part of the the order of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Aleister Crowley ended up starting his own religious, some people say cult, called the Lima during his lifetime. And the Lima had messages from its gods, and its gods were basically Kemetic gods. The names, as I'm someone who also works with Kemetic deities, also called Neteru, um, the names that he gave of some of the deities were either Greek offshoots of the Kemetic deities or slightly mispronounced uh, names of the Greek deities, like Nuit, which is Nut, which is the sky goddess of ancient Kemet. This deck took everything that was in the Rider Waite deck and then took as much of the Christianity out of it and basically replaced it with ancient Kemetic. So as you can see, we have a Herubadet right here, which is a symbol of Heru as the sky god. Uh, it has some other pagan imageries, but for the most part, the Christian imagery got taken out and pagan imagery got put back in. And that upset people. And the Alister Crowley is said to be everything from a devil worshiper, and just he was seen as one of the most evil people in the world when he was alive, and people are still afraid to even pick up this deck, read anything about him because of all the things that were said about him. And it's very funny how that works out. Again, this deck is going to be what some people call a pip deck with feels, because it does in fact have, oh, here we go. We have right here, this is the goddess Nut. We have Heru right here, and then we have his mother Aset. Heru would be uh I forgot the Greek name for Heru, but Aset is Isis. So these are gods that he worked with in his Thelema. And as you can see, it's he also incorporates, let's go a little closer. He also incorporates more blatantly than the Rider Waite deck astrological symbols. He puts in on some of the cards it has the uh like the major arcana cards, they have the Hebrew symbols for the tree of life, which part of the tree of life that they associate with. And there's just a lot of hidden imagery in here that's very esoteric. It's in your face and it's also hidden all at the same time. So, like I said, here's a Hebrew letter at the bottom of this one. This one is called Lust. It is his version of the Strength card, because it shows that lust, you can get strength from lust energy and be able to build from it. You don't have to use it for sexual energy. And he renamed the cards so that, because during this time, again, it's 1843 when it's finally published. People were very, very, compared to nowadays, they were very prudent, and sexuality was not a thing that was talked about. Um, we have the hanged man here. He's hanging from an ankh that's upside down, or which would be a life symbol. He's nailed to coins over a snake. Again, these are just imagery that, you know, things that people were scared of, he had painted. And that's why people still have issues with it, is because it just is so monumental. This deck, I've heard, and I'm learning this deck right now because, like most others, I started with the Rider-Waite-Smith system. So now I'm learning some of the other systems and incorporating them in my practice. We have Ampu over here, and we have Anubis and Set, or Ampu and Sitek, facing each other. It's absolutely beautiful. I did not realize that there was so much Kemetic influence in here until I got the deck. Again, we have Sitek or Set, and then we have the Heru Badet, and then the Uraeus. It's a beautiful deck, and it's been said to. I was watching another YouTuber, and he said that some people don't use this deck because it clears karma. It makes you work through your spiritual work instead of just acknowledging that things need to happen. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful. And since most, if not all, the tarot readings that I do have to do with spiritual work and how to best get your spiritual work done, I was like, let's get as many decks as we can that help clear karma and make people do the work. That's awesome. I've gone off on a tangent, and I said that to say this. Everything has a history, and if you work with a tool, because tarot is a tool, it's good to know its history and why it is the way it is, why it's set up the way it's set up. For my followers who are Christian and are afraid of tarot, know that even these cards were permitted in the 14th and 15th century by the Catholic Church because they had Christian imagery. And other playing cards were seen as gambling, but tarot cards were okay. People would take them into church with them. It's just cards, you guys. It's cards. And it's little pieces of paper. Nothing can happen to you from using them. And they are a great way to work with and work through some of your issues, to help you make decisions, to help you tap into your ancestors, to help you tap into your inner child, to help you with any, if you work with deities, help you to communicate with them. It's a beautiful tool. Can be used for fortune telling. It can be used for self-help. It can be used for many things. And I am happy that it was brought into my life at such a young age so that I can now teach my children, and they can have the gift of knowing how to help themselves using this tool. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!